Who am I? This question has bothered me for many years. My father, Frederick William Peak, son of Charles Hobart Peak and Charlotte Kate Walters, was born April 20th, 1908. While Charles Peak was in the military, Kate stayed with her in-laws. In 1911, Lizzie Shear, Kate's mother, was dying, and her husband, Harry Shear, went to Charlotte Kate's in-laws and took her to his house to care for her mother. After her mother died, Harry Shear married his stepdaughter, making her siblings her stepchildren. She now became their mother and her children's grandmother because she married her mother's husband, Harry Shear. Harry Shear was her children's father and grandfather. Her mother, Lizzie Shear, was the grandmother and the great-grandmother of her children. How confusing. What convoluted relationships. Charlotte Kate and Charles Peak had two children. Louise Lillian, born in 1904, married Elmer Antal and then John Aiken. Frederick William Peak, born April 20th, 1908, married Richardina Anna Johanna Willie Clark Shear. Charlotte Kate married Harry Shear and had 5 children. Kenneth Vincent married Dorothy Clark. Louis Leonard married Alice. Clifford Francis married Viola. Thelma Sybil married Norman Nelson. Burdette John married Henrietta Lovelace, and then Edith Victoria Aspen. After Harry's death, she married Charles and had David Ebenezer Peak, who married Dorothy Hart. Harry Shear decided that everyone in his household should have Shear as their surname. Therefore, all my father's records, school, medical, social, marriage certificate, and business records have this identifying name. My father, Fred, married my mother, Richardina Anna Johanna Willie Clark Shear, and had 8 children. After Charles Frederick was born, Tina took him to be baptized at the Lutheran Church, Cass Lake, Minnesota. This was shortly after the government stopped paying bounties for scalps of Indian men, women, and children. The government had put a price on the scalps of all Indians. In small-town USA, people still clung to these practices. People could not kill another person, but they could kill a savage who did not have a soul. Ignorance was rampant in small towns. In 1934, the Lutheran pastor told Tina that Indians do not have souls, so he does not baptize Indians. She was devastated. This colored the lives of all the subsequent children. Charles could not be buried in Christian cemetery because he was not baptized. Therefore, Charles was buried alongside the railroad tracks in Bena, Minnesota. This was devastating for my mother and clouded the lives of all her children. The 8 children of Fred and Tina are Richard Dale, Charles William, Charles Frederick, died when he was 18 months old, Betty Louise, Kathryn Marie, Carol Jean, Thelma June, Russell Sidney, and Frederick Lewis. My father died in 1991. What happened next is out of a horror story. History repeated. Fred could not be buried because he did not have a valid birth certificate or adoption records. After conversing with the BIA, finally, after much haggling, everything was cleared up and he could be buried. Fred's stepfather never adopted him. He grew up with his stepfather's surname. Another trauma for my mother. All of Fred's records are under his stepfather's surname. All my records and my siblings' records are under the stepfather's surname. My children were born with the wrong surname. With all this confusion, who am I?